All right, we're rolling. What's up, y'all? Mookie Mets here with another video for you. All right, make sure y'all can see this. So, this came to me the other night, just kind of randomly, and I thought I kind of did a little diagram and wrote it down. So I thought it was worth sharing with everybody, kind of telling where we are with human nature and human psychology and like the overall sociological state of where we're at as a community, as a nation, and as a planet for that matter. So this kind of is like the left and right perspectives here. I'll explain this. So this is like a scale of like 1 to 10. And it's just, this is like the crime. Just imagine this is a crime, the scale of the crime from 1 to 10. And this is the response to the crime. Also 1 to 10 here. So basically, like if you have like a small crime, or maybe not even a crime, just really like agitation. Oops. Agitation. All right, sloppy handwriting, but bear with me. So this is more like these smaller things that are kind of like annoyances in our lives, a little agitated. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, whatever. Someone's being a jerk to you. Someone says some rude things, little agitations. And so the proper response would be matching over here, like say this was like a 2 crime. You'd need like a 2 response, you know, or like a 1 response, or like a 3 up here. This is kind of like basically like embracing people's imperfections. This is like lower crimes. So I would put over here like a proper response to like just your everyday agitation is kind of just we'll just put embrace. Oops. Embrace, or we could do like forgive, ignore, because these are just basic human imperfections. We all agitate everybody else, little stuff, small stuff. And so the proper response would be forgiving, generally, like Christ taught, embrace, ignore people's imperfections and stuff like that, which would be just for the level of the crime. So that's a good place to start. So this line right here, I call it the J line for a couple different reasons. And that one meaning justice. T-I-C-E, justice. And, well, I'll get to that later. So, like I was saying before, a small agitation would be just for the proper response would be something along the lines of ignoring or forgiving, embracing someone's imperfections. Now, and that would fall right here, because it'd be equal, you see. It'd be equal right there. So that's what I call it the justice line, the J line. Now, say somebody agitated you, cut you off in traffic. It was minor offense. And you respond up here. This is like a heavy hand. Say like someone cuts you off in traffic, you jump out of your car and beat them up. That would be like, or even like maybe you like flip them off or curse them out or something. That would probably be a heavy hand. That'd be too heavy a hand for the crime that was committed, you see. So you're off balance. Look how far you are from the J line. And since it's over here on this side of the J line, on the response of it, we'll just say, oh man. Yeah, we'll use this example. We'll just say this kind of like, generally, this is like right wing. Right wing. I'm just going to make generalities, so bear with me, y'all. If we can't make generalities, what the hell are we doing here? So, right wing kind of has like the heavy hand response, always seeking justice, and sometimes it's too much, it's too much, so it's off balance. Now let's say, let's get a bigger crime here. Let's say somebody straight up punches you in the face. Whoa. Now, a proper response would probably be getting out of your car or punching him back, a more extreme, more violent response up here on this scale, on the response level, to be justified to the crime. All right. Now, this may be a good punch in the face. Maybe that's not what this is. Maybe this is kind of like turn the other cheek type of stuff. Maybe that's the proper response. Maybe that's justice. Maybe that's the J line. And I'll tell you the other reason of the J line, or the other reason I call it the J line. There it is. Jesus line. Because he was righteous in all he did, and just. And he was very, very just. Like he would turn the other cheek. He would turn the other cheek because he was cool like that. Because that, more violent. If you're too heavy-handed, it just leads to like more violence, more crime and stuff. So it's interesting. It's interesting to learn the proper responses to things. So where was I getting at with that? Okay. Yeah, so say somebody punches you in the face, but you respond and he keeps on doing it multiple times. He beats up somebody else. And, actually let's go multiple violent assaults on you. That'll be right here. That's a big crime. We're looking at a 7 or 8 right here. That's probably a 7. All right. And your response is to embrace or forgive when he keeps pummeling you. Okay. You're way off. You're way off the J line now. Because he's going to keep wailing on you. And you just keep taking it. It's kind of like a left wing response. It's kind of too light of a crime. Or maybe it's up here and you just yell at him. You just curse him out or something. But he keeps pummeling you. This is a bad, violent crime. I'll put violence, and that's kind of going up from here. As opposed to an agitation, which would be lower level here. And so you're still off the J line because you're just taking it right here from this violent assault against you. And you could use this I don't know, theft is somewhere around here. And there's a proper response for that on the scales. Because it's all perfectly balanced, right? 1 to 10. Perfectly balanced on the J line. And so you're really not having to just, and up here on the J line, would definitely respond with more of a heavy hand would be just for somebody violently assaulting you would be you would need to, 1, defend yourself, apprehend the guy, probably start bashing his face in instead. And, you would get arrested up here, which put rest. Oh man, you can't even read that. Okay, that's arrest. Jail. Jail would be the proper response. This guy probably need to get tased or something, and let's say this guy is just there was a bar fight or something stupid. And then one dude just pulls out a gun and shoots him. That's way up here. That's a heavy hand. That's a heavy response in relation to the crime. which would be like, I guess our example would be like right here, like, or yeah, no, we'll just put like a stupid bar fight would be like right here or something. And see, look how heavy-handed you are in response to the crime. So this is kind of like, we'll put like life for life. Okay, life for life. That's kind of biblical. That's Old Testament. We could get into like ritualistic law versus faith and grace, Old Testament, New Testament. Maybe that'll be another video. But pretty much like, you don't want to kill a guy just because like there's like somebody had a scuffle or maybe he punched you. You probably don't want to kill him. Although you just don't want to do that. There's some parts where like, yeah, of the country that like, you know, you just get shot. I mean, if like somebody punched a kid or something, that's like extremely violent. Yeah, you probably do want to shoot him, you know. But just a stupid little fist fight, you don't want to kill a guy. That's too heavy-handed. You're way off the J line here. You're way off the J line. That's only like a small misdemeanor. And so you want to bring it back here to like the J line. That would be just, you know, kind of like the rest jail type of level. Maybe we'll put like fight back. Because that'd be just. I mean, Jesus had a mission, you know, like he was meant to be killed and risen from the dead, you know. So he didn't fight back, but that was his way of just being very, very gracious. But there comes a time where like Jesus told us to sell our cloak and buy a sword. So I mean, common sense tell you have to fight back like eventually, you know. I mean, these crimes get bad. So that would be more just of a thing on the scale line. I hope y'all kind of track what I'm doing here. And so you don't want to be too heavy-handed here. You want to be really close to this line. We're not going to be like Jesus perfect, but I mean, if you could get like within range of this line, I mean, that's pretty good. God gives us so much grace if we don't act inappropriately or whatever. These are like, maybe not, we didn't get it perfect, but we responded somewhat in accordance to what's going on. So if you kind of take this on a larger scale, like we suffer like government abuse and stuff. You know, they steal from us. We'll put like robbery, you know, that's kind of like a misdemeanor stuff. And this is kind of like violence, like murder, you know. And then that would be like up here, like with life for life type of stuff. Like you kill in cold blood, you probably need to die. And there's like gray areas and stuff, you know, it feels like self-defense and the situation. But then there's like premeditated murder, you know, that's like life for life stuff, premeditated. And then there's like negligent, you know, murder. Okay, there's a little, you know, maybe that's like arrest somewhere around here. So, but yeah, back to what I was talking about, like say on a government level, like they just rob us, they steal from us, they just overtax us. It's just like, you know the crimes, you know what's unjust. And so where do we fall in humanity? Like how do we like take the government's like abuse? This is, oh yeah, let me let's see, this will be probably good. Yeah, like abuse, we'll put that right here. Dang it, I wish I didn't write so sloppy. So that's abuse leading into like violence and stuff. So how much abuse are we gonna take from the government? If you're left wing, you're kind of like, I love being a slave, I'm just gonna like embrace all this government abuse and be like victims and stuff. This is kind of like victimhood. I'll put like victimhood around here. And then Like, and then like over here, like say the government just keeps like abusing you, and it's just like all these unjust crimes that they commit, or lucky away for like nothing. Like, oh my God, you didn't pay your car insurance, so like they're gonna like put you in jail and remove your license and all this crap. And then like, or like during the COVID lockdowns where people just like, we're gonna shut down your businesses, you gotta 6 feet, wear a mask, and they try to enforce all this crap. Luckily we kind of fall back against it, and we kind of balance that one out. But that was like abuse on a massive scale, like sociology type level abuse, you know, countrywide. And the left wing, they would like some, not all, some, back to the generalities, they would kind of take it. And so if your response is like to embrace all that crap, I'll put Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah, forgive the spelling. Seriously, give me some grace on the spelling. I suck at it. Please extend some grace to me. Thank you. So the Stockholm Syndrome, that's down here. That's having like no response to the violent crime. And then you're way off the J line here. You're just way off right there. And then the other way, which is just as bad, is like, you know, say you're right here and you just react violently for small misdemeanors and agitations, and you're too heavy-handed, and you're like, you murder a guy or something. It's just the punishment does not fit the crime, and you're off of the justice line. You're off of the lines so far. That's why I said the closer we get to the line, the better off we're going to be as society and as a people. So this is pretty interesting. Now, the further you are on the scale, the easier it is to make a decision. So light agitations, you know, everybody kind of, the general public, the generalities of the public, usually we could pretty much make pretty good decisions about these small little crimes, and we'll fall in between this here, pretty close to the justice, the Jesus line right here, with these, as well as like bad violence. You know, like we're getting better at this, like say like the mutilation of kids because they think they're transgender, and like the psychotic because convince them that they're need to chop themselves up. I mean, that's horrible. That's like over here, like murder, violence, it's just disgusting crimes. And so yeah, the heavy hand would be, you know, up here we're kind of getting that, like, you can't do that, you need to go to jail, or you unleash, or you sell a vaccine that they know murders a whole bunch of people, they know is deadly, and they get away with it. Wow, that's like Stockholm Syndrome victimhood over here. So maybe we'll see some justice on that, right? You know, that's pretty sick. That's like murder. That's like straight up premeditated murder if you're like giving people deadly vaccines. So hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that, straighten all that out. Big Pharma, you know, all the evil crap. So all the crimes fit somewhere like on here, and we have to have this right response according to it. So, but okay, back to where I was getting at. It's pretty easy. Like somebody murders somebody, that's like, okay, jail, murder, premeditated. This is easy. This is easy right here. When you get to like the tens, okay, you know, the crime fits the justice, you know, pretty easy. Same with like small agitations, you know, embrace, forgive. This is easy, but let's see if I could draw this around 5 here. There's like, imagine this little line kind of coming down through here. Maybe it kind of gets like through here or something. Oops. I wanted it to go before 5, so like right down there. All right, it's getting sloppy, but bear with me. So this is gets kind of like the fuzzy area, right in through here, because we're pretty competent of what we need to do with bad crimes, violent crimes. And, this is pretty easy. This is pretty basic stuff to deal with. When it's kind of like the gray area, yeah, this will be like the gray area when it comes to like the crime and the response. Like, was it a bad crime? Was he too heavy-handed? I don't know. It's kind of like, this is where you like learn stuff. So this is kind of like the learning area. And maybe, the general population kind of falls somewhere around here if you're kind of left wing, around here if you're kind of right wing. Maybe we're getting smarter. Maybe we're moving closer to the J line here. Maybe we're moving closer to the J line here. Like I said, all this stuff out here and here is like easy. This is like common sense, like kind of stuff, But there's these small crimes and misdemeanors, and what should the response be? This is where a lot of debates happen. But like, what should the crime, the punishment be? Our justice system is so messed up. We got corrupt judges. Don't get me started about the DOJ. It's just corrupt. So we got to clean up all that crap. But we could do that. But we got to keep having these debates as the left wing and the right wing. This is where most people fall or have issues with and stuff. We kind of fall in here. This is like, if you're out of here, you're pretty psycho. I mean, if you're this far from the J line, you're psycho. You're a psychotic right wing if you're up here. You're a psychotic left wing if you're over here. All right. But most people fall they mostly get close to the J line up in here. Most people fall like really close to the J line. It's pretty common sense. But in this gray area, it kind of gets fuzzy, So I have to use discernment to figure out the right response to some of these like misdemeanor crimes. You don't want to be too heavy-handed, don't want to be too soft, So it's something to think about. And I think as humanity moves forward day by day, I think we're getting closer to the J line on this gray area. I think we're getting closer. I think we're starting to fall like under here. And we're starting to get like up in here. That's going to be great. When we start responding accordingly to some crimes that we're still fuzzy about as a society, or what kind of society we want to be, we just keep getting a little bit closer to the J line. And this is great. If we start falling under here, we're not going to be perfect again, but we start getting really close into here. This is great. This is like close to heaven on earth and stuff. And people stop doing crime because there's a proper response to the crime. When justice is served. So, I think that's it. That's probably enough to think about on a massive scale of how our society is, where our country is. So, meditate on this, dwell upon it. I hope it helps. I hope it gets you thinking. All right, good luck and Godspeed, y'all.